This is a vintage Bernina sewing machine. It's a Record 830 and was apparently built in 1973. It has had routine maintenance, but none for quite a while, and it's pretty dirty. Now that makes it 46 years old, being made in 1973. So we have decided it is due for a really deep cleaning, deeper than the normal. I found it a necessity in my professional sewing business to become a sewing machine mechanic. So years ago, I took a course in it. I won't say that I was as good a mechanic as I am a seamstress, but I became quite competent, and it's always been enough to service my own machines. Those who do this, as I have for a living, will realize you can't always take time out to send the machine off to the shop. If it needs something, you've got to get right on with it. But in spite of my general ability and comfort with sewing machine mechanics, I was not able to get into this one on my own. Bernina put a lot of fail-safes in place and a lot of shielding, and I just couldn't figure out how to get into it. It's not like the things that were covered in my course, and it's not like other machines that I've figured out just from logic and experimentation. And because it's a Bernina and has some value, I was unwilling to experiment too wildly. Jack is a career mechanic, and he's cross-trained on many, many kinds of machines, and it took his expertise to get into the machine. Therefore, we are not going to recommend this as a do-it-yourself project for most people. If you are a mechanic, you may be seeing enough in the way he got into it to inform you. All others, though, be very cautious. Had I succeeded in getting into it myself, I'm not sure that I would have gotten out without harm. Now, once Jack got me into it, cleaning is pretty normal. And it's kind of funny because of all of the shields in this design. Some areas are filthy dirty, as you would expect from their great age, and others are barely dirty at all. The cleaning process is very meticulous, but very simple. You need some kind of a cleaning solvent that's safe for all the materials represented in the machine. That's several kinds of metal, a little bit of plastic, and some nylon. And I prefer to do it slowly and gently rather than aggressively, because you definitely don't want to damage any parts or cause any real misalignments, which it's totally possible to do. Although this machine needs a deep cleaning and some tender loving care, it is not broken or out of adjustment. It is working fine, stitching beautifully, so I don't want to do anything to cause it to get out of adjustment. You just got a good look at thread where it doesn't belong, but it was not where the seamstress could see it or get to it from normal activity. So for the cleaning that is needed, I'm going to use LPS 1, which is something that was recommended to us years ago for knitting machines by a chemical engineer. And we've had very good success with it being effective, cleaning well, although not like a white tornado, and doing no damage to anything at all. The cord you see coming across right now goes to the light, not the motor. And because I'm not planning on using that light and the wiring looked iffy, we're just removing it in some of these pictures. LPS 1 cleans and lubricates, but on the way back out of assembling it, Jack noted all the oil ports, which are conveniently marked in red on this machine, and he also put a more durable lubricant in those ports. The cleaning process consists of peering in, sometimes with a flashlight, spraying LPS or whatever your selected cleaning solution is, letting it loosen some crud, then reaching inside with probes and toothbrushes and scrubbing and picking out crud and doing that same thing over and over and over. It took me several hours because there are so many angles from which you can approach and so many nooks and crannies. you can amazingly find dirt in what you thought was a clean place over and over. This area beneath the feed dogs and around the rod that holds the needle, this is the area that tends to collect the very most dirt and needs the very most attention. Jack is taking off some things for me that don't strictly have to come off, but I wanted to be able to clean them thoroughly because we could both see dinginess in the crevices where they attached, and it seemed like the best time to just get in there and really do a thorough job. This is, after all, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of cleaning. There's an area that really deserves attention, and there's how you expose it. Even though I'm aware that feed dog areas really catch it, that was a little bit of a shocking amount of stuff. So a lot of time was spent digging it out, spraying it down. One nice thing is the LPS causes the fuzz to lump together. It's already kind of felting, and you can pull it out much more easily because it's coagulated. With the machine this far apart, too, when you wash it down with the LPS one, and we're pretty generous with it, it carries the debris to one of the bottom spots, and you can pour it out on absorbent mats. There's what I mean about a generous use of LPS, but it literally does help you wash out the mess. In our experience, one time through isn't enough because you need to wash, probe, brush, wash again, peer in with the light, and you'll find more and more. And if at all possible, we sit ourselves at different angles with the light from different sources so as to not miss anything. Even so, I thought I had it pristine. It really looked good, and you can see it is starting to look good. But as Jack commenced reassembly, he did find a few more of what he calls dust rhinos. You know how we used to affectionately call the fuzz that builds up in a house dust bunnies? Well, he says that builds up in a machine is better called dust rhinos. This is looking so much better. There's something very satisfying about going from filthy, dirty to shiny and bright, and where you can hold up the places that have holes in them and see light through them. And it's just fun to know how much better this machine is getting. So it's ready to go back together and get back to work. After a little bit of adjusting of tension, it's working just great. Here's the straight stitch test. The zigzag stitch is next, and there's absolutely no problem. And then always the most challenging, the fancy stitches. But they're working wonderfully. This took more than this one little swatch to get to this point, but maybe 5 to 10 minutes of adjusting and swatching to get it just where it ought to be. Now the mechanics are really restored and just about good as new. The paint job is not. That's a project for another day. We're pondering what is the best way to proceed.